Coming up on this episode of the Upper One Podcast, we break out the pod decks again and talk about the concrete industry. Myths, frequently asked questions, rookie mistakes, and the history of concrete. Stay tuned.
And now podcasting from the great state of Alaska, this is the Upper One Podcast.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this 23rd episode of the Upper One Podcast. It means a lot to me. I've been checking the numbers. For this being a hobby, things are great. Every episode has been listened to more than 10 times. I can't thank y'all enough. I can only hope that you're liking and sharing and passing things on and people start to notice. And hopefully this can get bigger. With that being said, please help me out even more by liking and sharing all these episodes on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and share everything. If you know anybody that's got something going on, they talking about coming to Alaska, whatever, they want to know what to do, I'll talk about it on the podcast. Send me an email, upper_one_podcast@yahoo.com. Well, let's get started. I work in the concrete business. Construction up here in Alaska is pretty much May 1 through October 1, just because of the winter. It's harder to maintain temperature to pour concrete, so everything's either indoors during the winter or it doesn't happen. But to get on with this concrete business, let's start with a little history. The ancient Romans weren't the first to create concrete, but in 600 BC, they were the first to utilize it. By 200 BC, they successfully implemented concrete use in the majority of their construction. Back then, it was a mixture of volcanic ash, lime, and seawater. The use of concrete spans over 5,000 years, from the time of the Egyptian pyramids to present day. It has been used for many things throughout history, from architecture to infrastructure and more. Joseph Aspdin's father, I think I pronounced that right, is proven to have patented the method of cement manufacture in 1824, which is still used today even with modern technological advances. In 1854, home construction using reinforced concrete was built in England by William Wilkinson. In 1889, the first reinforced concrete bridge was built. In 1891, George Bartholomew, say that 5 times fast, Bartholomew, poured the first concrete street in the United States, and it still exists today. In 1904, the first high-rise building was built in Cincinnati, Ohio. In 1936, the Hoover Dam was built. And in 1967, the Assembly Hall was the first domed sports structure. That's just a short history. There's a lot more. I will be right back after the music with some frequently asked questions about concrete, along with rookie mistakes. All right, I'm back with some frequently asked questions. First one is, what is concrete exactly? Well, I'm going to answer that later in segment 3, just to go a little more into detail. How do you measure strength of concrete? Well, the scientists use a compression and flexural mechanical strength test. So what they do is they will take a sample, put some of that into like 8 cylinders that are 12 inches tall, 3 inches in diameter. Then rapidly cure them in a tank. Then once they're cured, they will break them at 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days, and 28 days. And each one of those has 2 cylinders. They will take the average of the 2 cylinders, and that gives you your breakage strength after those periods of time. Is concrete always gray? Well, no. You can add minerals or mineral colors to make concrete virtually any color, from red to brown to green and more. I've poured black concrete, charcoal colored concrete, red concrete, which is a pain in the ass, Well, let's put it this way. It looks like a feminine product that has been used. That's the nice, easy way I will say that. My favorite one is a Kahlua color. Came out real nice brown looking. I've also poured white and a driftwood color, which was a yellow. And we've also poured green. That's about all we've done, but there are others. You could virtually make it any color you want, depending on your application. Does it require maintenance? Mostly durable on its own. Concrete does require some maintenance. Up here in Alaska, we salt the driveway to keep people, the ice buildup. And you want to avoid the de-icing chemicals and harsh acids. And in order to maintain, as I said earlier, about the street that was made out of concrete that is still being used today, you want to clean and seal your concrete regularly. That way you can maintain it and it will last forever. How is concrete measured? Well, it's measured by the cubic yard. So a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot cube, or a 27 cubic foot area, is 1 cubic yard. And that 1 cubic yard weighs approximately 4,000 pounds, so 2 tons. Some rookie mistakes. Depending on your application, guys might get you the wrong mix. That will lead you to failure. Too much water, too much concrete, or too much of some aggregate material will lead to failure. It may not cure properly, or it may not be strong enough for the intended application. Cure time is also a mistake. If concrete cures too quickly, it will become weakened. Also, if it doesn't cure long enough, it will become weakened as well. Mixture and climate also affects cure time. Well, like I said, in Alaska, you got to maintain a certain temperature based on the plans. So if it's not that certain temperature, it will freeze the water in the concrete and you won't get the proper cure time. Improper reinforcement is also another mistake. Proper use of reinforcements are required for each intended application. Different reinforcements for sidewalks versus load-bearing sections of buildings or structures. So you might, on your sidewalk, you might just go get that wire mesh. You can pick that up at any hardware store, the big guys. But for load-bearing columns and stuff like that, they're going to reinforce that with tons of rebar. They're going to make cages out of rebar. Improper site preparation is also a big mistake. Soft or unstable foundations, compaction for driveways, and making the right form to handle the weight of the concrete. Too many times in the last 11 years have I seen a form get blown out because they did not reinforce it correctly. Well, that's about it for this section. That's just, like I said before, that's just a small portion of, questions about concrete and rookie mistakes. I mean, one of our big mistakes is a newer guy might put too much water in the load. Well, there is a cement to water ratio in that mix design, and you cannot exceed that to maintain that strength, the breakage strength. So, there's lots. I actually do a lot of training when we do get new guys, and that's some of the stuff that I insist they pay attention to when they're training and they're out on their own. Another section of music, here comes. I will be back with Concrete Myths. All right, finally this last segment for episode 23 is Concrete Myths. So I will start by saying concrete never dries, it cures. That is one myth that people always say, how long does it take for concrete to dry? It doesn't, it cures. Another myth is that concrete and cement are the same thing, and that is not true. Concrete is the accumulation of cement, aggregate, and water. So if you think about it in the way of your body, you have your muscle, which is the cement. You have your bone, which is the aggregate, and then you have your blood, which is the water. So you kind of have the three main components for, just to get an idea of how concrete is made up. Another myth that is false is that there are dead bodies in the concrete at the Hoover Dam. More than 100 workers did die, but none of them became part of that structure. Adding water makes concrete better. That is false. On paper, you see the mixed design of what concrete is. There's different mixed designs. There's certain mixed designs for curb mud, for sidewalks, for exposed aggregate, and other stuff like that. Well, each mixed design has a certain water to cement ratio, and if you change that up by adding water, you're not going to get the breakage strength that will meet for what that design is meant for, that application. So by exceeding the water to cement ratio, you will effectively drop the breakage strength. The last one, concrete is impermeable. That is false. Concrete is porous. Certain liquids and vapors can pass through concrete. In order to make it less permeable, you would add mixtures or change the mix design to a lower water to cement ratio just to make it a little bit more dense. But in the end, it still will be porous, and waters and vapors can pass through. With that being said, I have some random facts to pass along. I thought was kind of cool. One of my favorites is Arby's, and I looked this up. How did Arby's get its name? Why is it called Arby's? Well, Arby's was founded in Boardman, Ohio, July 23rd, 1964, by Forrest and Leroy Raffle. They wanted to call their restaurants Big Tex, but that name was already used by another Akron, Ohio business. Instead, they chose the name Arby's based on RB, the initials of the Raffle brothers, although it is often mistaken for roast beef. There are almost 8 million possible 7-digit numbers per area code. Goosebumps are meant to ward off predators, not necessarily to be cold. Physiologist and professor of zoology at the University of Guelph, Ontario, explained it caused our ancestors to appear bigger than they were, helping to ward off predators when they were frightened or on the defense. It is not the same today because modern humans have less body hair. And last, have you ever watched the movie Pulp Fiction by Quentin Tarantino? If you watch that movie, pay attention to all the clocks. I don't remember if you get to see the dial on Bruce Willis's watch that he goes back for, but all the clocks in that movie are set to 4:20. And those of you that are 420 friendly know what that means. All right, that is a wrap for episode 23. Thank you all so much for being a part of this and making it what it is. I know it's not a lot, but it means a lot to me. Don't forget to like and share. I know I say it a lot. Like and share. Like and share. That's the only way it's going to get out. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Coming soon, YouTube. The email address is upper_1_podcast@yahoo.com. Until next time, I don't know when it's going to happen, but maybe it's going to be a big one. For those of you that are my age and remember the 80s, that's just a hint of hopefully the big one coming. Until then, this is Scott from the Eagle River Valley on a rainy, gloomy July 8th. Thanks again. We'll see ya. Talk to ya soon.